How are you? Good. I need you to talk to me today. I'm Brian, the discipleship pastor, and as much as I want to hold back my illustration from you today, I don't think that I'm going to be able to hide the tent on the stage. So I'm just going to start out talking about what I hope is flooding your mind right now. Do you have camping just memories come, like you being in a tent? Anybody been in a tent while camping? All right. Yeah. And those that haven't, you're like, those guys are idiots. You know? Who in the world would go in that in the woods? I know. But my family and I have done this. Now, we have done tent camping less than any other camping experience. And so I'll just tell you, but we have memories in these. And the reason it's been so minimal is because of the moments that I'm about to tell you. We have 5 children, and we all got into this. No, we had 2 of these because that made it better. And so 2 of these on our site, and we split up, and we just thought, okay, this is going to be a good experience. And we woke up, and my wife, she is so beautiful, and she was super beautiful in the next morning. But I had to just act like, what happened? Baby, you're so beautiful. What happened? You know? And if it was anything me, like, dude, has anybody found an air mattress that actually stays? How they keep making money, I don't know, right? But like the air mattress is gone. My back is hurting. The kids are sleeping sideways. That's fun to them, I guess. They snore. My wife, she had it worse because I had some of the older kids, which I thought, okay, I guess I win a little bit. She had the younger. She also woke up wet, and it wasn't because of the rain. And so she's like, I slept on the ground. I got urinated on. I got 0 sleep. We're going home today. It's funny. I think about a tent, right? And we go, what's the point of the tent? And we go, well, there's like one point, right? It's to protect us. Has anybody thought about this? Protect you from what? Like, it's not keeping the cold out, because I lived in the Northeast for 5 years. It's not keeping the heat out. It's not keeping bugs out. It's not keeping urination out. It's not keeping noises. It's not keeping a person. Yeah, because this is going to stop me from getting you. I think animals laugh at this in the woods when they see it. You know what a tent does? All it does is limit your sight. And come on now, somebody. It just limits what we can see, and we feel better about it. Like I'm in the woods, and it's like, this is a little scary out here. I don't know, I can't see. Man, there could be, what's out here? I don't know. Let's go in a tent. Whoa, I feel better now. It just limits what we see, but we know once we in there, it's not like we go in there, it limits what I see. It's more comfortable. Yeah, for a minute. And then you're like, not doing that again. I'm going to upgrade to a pop-up camper. And you know what's funny is fitting 7 people on a pop-up camper, Here's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about this tent representing doubt. I want to talk about the fact that many of us, like myself, may struggle with doubt so much we camp in it. We camp in it because sometimes it feels more comfortable, but you know why you're in it is miserable. But you camp in it because at least it limits what I see. See, what's interesting is faith is the definition about what I cannot see. And so faith gives us a little bit of this, we think, comfort, but at the end of the day, it's not giving us any protection. I'm going to call this message today, When Doubt Crashes In. When doubt crashes in. Look, I love Sundays. I like to call them that today we're having a party. Like our family's throwing a party. We throw a party every week. And I love for you to invite your friends and your guests. But at the end of the day, we're throwing a party. And when you're at a party, I don't know if you know this, but you ever had like the person that showed up and you didn't know who invited them? And this is what we do. It's so funny. We're like, oh, so-and-so's here. John, who invited John? And we keep it a secret. But I'm going to tell you what happens. See, doubt be crashing our party, and most of you walked in here and were like, I think doubt's here. Look, somebody in here needs to be like, doubt's in the house. And I didn't invite him. When we have a faith party, doubt wants to crash in. And it is something that we all struggle with. Here's what I want to do. I want to play a game. Because I need you to talk today. I need you to talk to me. I need you to talk to your neighbors. I know, I'm going to make you feel real uncomfortable. But I need you to look at somebody that you're next to, and I need you just to say this. I struggle with doubt. Go. Can we do that? Did that feel good? You're like, wait, can I say that in here? We're going to do it again. This time I want you to do it with an exclamation point, not a question mark. You guys be throwing question marks like, I struggle with doubt. What? Like say it like you feel it this time. All right, go ahead. Find somebody else to say it too. I struggle with doubt. Hey, me too. Hey, can I tell you I do too? Hey, listen, I struggle. Okay, back to me. Okay. But I struggle too, and this is why. If you don't know this, some people know if you are in my life, and I'm down to one car right now. My vehicle isn't working properly, and you know what you do when it doesn't work, you take it to people who can fix it, and but it's just not being fixed. And so we're fine to the place of me spending a good amount of money, and it's still not fixed. And so I decided that I would utilize something that I think you've heard about, but you haven't used it yet. And I'm just going to make a case right now that I'm about to give you a tool that we have here at this family that will rock your world and change your life. And if you don't do it, shame on you, okay? And that is on our app, the Crosspoint app. If you don't have it, you should have it. There is a button called the prayer wall. And it's a digital place for you to write a prayer that you have. And then it says, do you have an email address? And if you say no, then you're not breathing today, because we all have an email address. And then it sends you an email every time someone goes to the wall and prays for it. Are you kidding me? Come on. So here's what I did. So I'm going to tell you, I struggle with faith. I struggle with doubt, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to pray. Lord, here's my prayer. I'm going to put it on the wall. Pray that God fixes my truck and it doesn't cost me that much more money. By the way, you will see this prayer request on the wall when you go there. Right? I pray that he'll fix my truck and it won't cost me that much more money. I laughed after I wrote it because I didn't have enough faith to say, God, heal my truck and it cost me nothing more. Like I'm laughing and I'm going, but people are praying, by the way. I mean, it's a flood of people just going, hey, I pray for you, I pray for you. And when I get tired of praying that my truck will get fixed, I get an email saying someone else prayed for you today. Someone else prayed for you today. Someone else prayed for you today. If you just need to know that you have a collective group of people that are begging God on your behalf of whatever it is you need prayer for, that you have doubt about, that you're leaning into, then I'm going to tell you, go to the prayer wall, write something on there, and go pray for people on that prayer wall. Has everyone got that? I'm telling you, It's unbelievable. So I want to talk about faith and doubt, the relationship between faith and doubt, because somebody's lying to all of us. I think I know who. When you think for some reason that the only way that I have no doubt is to have all this faith, and if I have all this doubt, then I must not have faith, and woe me, and now I can't go to church, and now I shouldn't show up, and now I should stop praying, and now I should stop doing all these things because I have doubt. And I just want to talk about this place that most of us camp in, but ain't no one want to talk about. I'll always be that guy that will talk to you about something that maybe other people won't, because I struggle with doubt. I struggle with camping out in my doubt and getting in a place that I know isn't comfortable. I'm going to wake up wet and itchy, okay? We'll take that back, okay? But I'm going to wake up I need to get out of this place. So let's define faith real quick. I'm going to define it how you see it and how the Bible defines it, right? Here's what it says. Faith shows the reality of what we hope for and the evidence of what we cannot see. Most people think faith is blind faith. It's just what I can't see. Have you heard that before? Did you catch these two words? It's reality and evidence. Faith gives you a reality and an evidence of the things that you can't comprehend. That if you lean into faith, then all the things that are bigger than you that you can't understand, God will begin to give you understanding, a reality, and evidence. And he goes on, and the Hebrew writer says this about faith: it's impossible to please God if you don't have it. And you're like, oh man, so I'm doubting. And so, no, it's okay. I'm going to show you the tension and the relationship between these two. It's impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists. And when you do that, he will reward those who sincerely seek him. What does he reward you with? Evidence. A reality. You will see the fingerprints of God on something in your life if you lean into this. Like, faith is a hope. Faith is an evidence. It is a gift, and that is where Paul is at in Romans chapter 4. And we're going to continue walking through the book of Romans. Last week, Pastor Tom ended with the idea of faith, and I got to high five him today and say, what in the world does Paul now say about faith? And he gives an example of faith with a guy named Abram or Abraham, who ultimately is the father of faith. So he gives an example of a guy, a character in the Bible that we can learn from, all right? So let's read it together. Here's what it says. Abraham was, humanly speaking, the founder of our Jewish nation. So he's speaking to primarily the Jews, and he's like, if I want you to understand faith, you're going to have to go back and understand Abraham, which we're going to do. He said, what did he discover about being made right with God? What did he discover? Well, if his good deeds made him acceptable to God, he would have had something to boast about, but that was not God's way. Can I start with this? You understanding is just part of faith. You boasting about figuring it out is just not God. Can I tell you that if you think that it's about your way, it's always going to lead you down the wrong path. God says faith is a God way thing. It's a God way thing. And we've got to understand that that's how being made right happens. And Abraham, he understood it. That's what it says, very next verse. Go ahead. For the scriptures tell us that Abraham believed God and counted him as righteous because of his faith. Not because of anything he did. So here's the question I have with you when it comes to Abraham. Think about him in the Old Testament. What story comes to mind? Most people, right? They're like, that's the dude that took his son and put him on an altar. Like, if that's what I got to do, I'm out. Can we just be honest? Like, I'm out. And we think about Abraham for what he did rather than what he accepted. So I want to define two words here. The word believed and counted. The believe is to have a trust and a confidence, not in your understanding, in God, that he would save me because the sin that I have causes me to be completely separate from him. The second word, counted, is this, to have a credit or a new status. This was actually an accounting term. Here's how it works. When you work, you get a credit into your account. Why? Because you worked. Here's what righteousness does. God says, I'm going to give you a credit into your account and you didn't work. Somebody's like, that's where it's at. And so Abraham was able to accept that I'm just going to have faith in God. He's going to credit my account as righteous. And he's needing you and I to understand this. He goes on. When people work, their wages are not a gift, but something they have earned. But people are counted as righteous, not because of their hard work, but because of their faith in God who forgives sinners. You see how active this is? Forgives sinners. It's an ongoing thing that he does because you can't fix yourself. This is what we call saving faith. Now, I'm going to sit on that term a little bit today because we have failed to sometimes teach that faith, like salvation, there are stages. He says, Abraham, because of your faith that God would save your sin, there's a saving faith. You are now righteous. But that righteousness will work out, just like the salvation works out, and just like your faith will work out what is in you. See, saving faith is like the birth of faith. It's the beginning of faith. And then you live it out. I want you to get it this way. Faith is continual. It's continual. And when you have continual faith, doubt gets involved every single time. Ooh, I'm going to be bold and say something. If you're not struggling with doubt, you may not be walking in faith. And someone is lying to you when you think that now I can't live out God's purpose in my life because I have some doubt. Now, I'm going to tell you what we shouldn't be doing is going to the place that we know really can't do anything for us. We're camping here. We shouldn't be camping here. But we got to understand, how do we process doubt and faith? Let me put it this way. A lot of commentary, theologians, will say faith is like an instrument. Now, if you know anything about me, I'm a really great singer. The ones that are laughing know that I'm lying. And the ones that are a little bit laughing are the ones that hear me. I have zero musical talent, but, in junior high, I had to play an instrument. That's what I had to do. I like sports, but I had to pick an instrument. So I picked, why not, the biggest instrument known to mankind, the upright bass. That's right. This thing was double my size, by the way, when I was playing it. And I love this idea of faith as like an instrument, because when I got the bass, I got to be honest, I went, what in the world did I sign up for? Every time I would pick it up and use it, you know what would happen? Doubt. Come on, somebody. Every time that I would pick it up, no matter how advanced I got year after year, even the more mastery that I became with this instrument, it almost caused more doubt that I could never get to the next stage of that instrument. And it says that's all faith is, but maybe we've missed that. It's an instrument that we pick up. And we need to start exposing when doubt's at our party. So I'm excited today to do that with you. Doubt's here. In fact, many of us are camping in it. And so what I want to do is I want to go, how in the world are we going to attack and expose the doubt that exists because of the faith we have? Can I say that again? We're going to learn how to attack and expose the doubt that exists because of the faith that lives. We are a family that has doubt. If you have doubt, you're welcome here. If you see a seat open, invite someone that has doubt. That's a great way. Do you have doubt? Our church would love to have you. We all doubt too. Why? Because we're a family of faith. But we got to expose it. We got to talk about it. So we're not sitting in here with it. I got 3 things, okay? Number 1, here's number 1. We have to recognize who is full of unfailing faithfulness. I love this. We're in a 90-day reading plan. There was like almost 400 people that did that, by the way. One of the books that Tom was in was the book of John. And he said, hey, you can read the book of John, you can read another book, but 90 days, we're just going to encounter the heart of God. Well, I just decided, I'll read the book of John. I'm tired of hearing Tom talk about it and how much he loves the book of John, so I thought, I'll read the book of John too. So I've been reading the book of John. So I'm going to talk to you about some fresh stuff the Lord has been giving me that was just like the nail just being put right through, right? Just nailed it in. Here's what it says about Jesus. So the Word, that's Jesus, became human and made his home among us. He was full of unfailing love and, everybody say it. Have you ever seen that before? He go, Jesus is full of faithfulness. Now this is cool because it continues on and it says this. God's unfailing love and faithfulness came through. The heart of God is full of faith. He put on skin. It came through Jesus. Jesus now lives where? Come on, people. In us. That's what it says. It says those that put their faith in Jesus, Jesus becomes the center of their life. And if Jesus is the center of your life, the center of your life is full of what? But the devil doesn't want you to know that. He didn't want you walking and be like, I'm full of faith. Listen, it working out and being in you are 2 different things. But what if we started by saying, I am full of faith when I'm in the camping tent of doubt? No, I have faith. I have faith. I'm full of faith. Jesus is in me. I'm full of faith because the one who is full of faith lives in me. Can you imagine that statement? You wake up and you're struggling. I am full of faith because the one who is full of faith is in me. That's just number 1. Okay, that's the first thing you got to do. Okay, here's number 2. That you need to recognize how doubt is forming. We're going to talk about how this tent's formed. And we're going to look at Abraham. Okay, now it's going to say Abram. His name changed. I want to go back to Genesis chapter 15. Because Paul, as he writes to the Roman church, he's like, hey, listen, you know about Abraham. But I think sometimes we forget about the father of faith. Here's what it says. Then the Lord took Abram, before his name changed, outside. This is a key word. I want you to underline that. Outside. And he said to him, look into the sky and count the stars if you can. If you can. Listen, God's like, yeah, get up there and count all those stars. I like to watch. That's how many descendants you will have. Listen, Abram was in a tent. And God said, hey, will you have enough faith to come out of this? Because I got some promises that I want to show you. You got to come out of the tent, though, to see the promise. Yeah, but it's so comfortable in there. You liar. I mean, that sun come up, you be popping out of that tent trying to find coffee, right? He's saying, hey, I know you went out anyways. I got something I want to show you. And so Abraham comes out and he sees the stars. And by the way, he's old now. And he's like, what, you're telling me that I'm going to have a generation that's as many stars as stars that I can't count? And he says, okay. And so the very next verse says this, and Abraham believed the Lord, and the Lord counted him what? He's righteous. Why? Because he believed, right? This was way before God said to do anything with your son. You know why he was counted righteous? Because he came out of his tent. Because he knew his tent couldn't do anything for him. He'd been in there too. He's already tested out the tent too many times. Look, you do this all the time. Most of you don't stay in tents anymore. Why? Because you said, I learned my lesson. I'll pay more money. Or just not go camping, right? That's not all the story. See, you think the story stops there. It's not over yet. It's not over. God said, here's how it's going to play out. And as God continued, as the story would play out, you ready? Abraham would struggle with doubt. Look what it says here in 17. Abraham bowed down to the ground. Abraham was worshiping God. At the same time, he was laughing to himself in what? Well, that's crazy though. I thought he believed. He did. He believed and he was righteous. So he was worshiping God and he was also in disbelief. He's like, how could a father at the age of 100? I go, that's a great question. Like Abraham, that's a great question. And then how could Sarah have a baby when she's 90 years old? He thought. This is funny. He thought, but he was bowing down and word. God, I'm going to encounter your presence. And I know you know my thoughts. You know everything, whether I say it out loud or not. Listen, I'm going to encounter your presence and I have doubt. In fact, here's the word disbelief that you need to understand. It actually just means a weakness of faith or little faith. See, there are stories in the Bible that say they believed and they had unbelief. They believed and they had unbelief. They had faith and then they had doubt. They had faith and they had doubt. Why? Because when you have faith that Jesus saves you, and then you have a living, growing faith inside of you, you will continue to doubt and have sometimes, the Bible says, little faith, wavering faith, strong faith. He measures your faith. He says little faith. He says big faith. Why? He says, because when you finally to surrender to Jesus, you're now, because he's your king and your savior, you're going to surrender to his ways. And then as you surrender to his ways, for that to get played out, it's still going to be hard. And you're still not going to understand it. And you're still going to have doubt. You're still going to have unbelief. And so, can we just talk about the three things that form the tent? Because I think it's so important. Number one is that there is expectations that Abraham had. And I think you have them too, right? What's the expectations? Oh, I'm going to have kids, then I'm going to have them by this age. God, I have this in my soul, so it's going to happen this way. Oh, I'm going to start going to church now, so that means I'm going to be blessed. Probably going to get a tax return this year now. I'm going to really fight to have a budget. So then your truck dies. A little personal. There's things that start forming this tent. Can I just tell you something? I'm not mad at you for living here. I just need you to expose why we live here. The next one, not just expectations, it's rejections. Every time it doesn't happen the way you want it to happen, you feel personally rejected. And then you question whether or not God can even use you. God's like, what do you mean? And the last one is distractions. I think about Abraham. Listen, his wife doubted. That was a distraction. Go read the story if you don't know what I mean. It was a distraction for Abraham that his wife doubted. And listen, this happens all the time. I love in the New Testament, Jesus sends his disciples out, right? You're his disciples. And he sends you out and he says, don't take a bag with you. Expectations. Don't take a bag. Don't take a bag. Don't take a bag. You know what you do when you pack for a place to go? You put in the clothes you think you need for the amount of time you think you're going to be there, to do the things you think you're going to do. You guys see what I'm saying? Jesus said, drop your bag. Oh, by the way, you're going to get rejected as you go. So knock it off. Knock the dust off. Knock off the rejections. Stop it. And then distractions. By the way, don't say hi to people on the road. So we need to, you ready? Drop expectations, knock off rejections, and pass by distractions. If not, we're going to live in the place of doubt that's being formed by those three things. You guys with me? I mean, this is the story of Abraham, but we're missing it. Yeah, he's the father of faith. We should learn from him. If I have great faith, I will struggle with some serious doubt. I got one more for you, number 3. I got to recognize what is feeding doubt. Not just what forms it, right? I know I'm full of the one who has all faith. I have now exposed what forms it. Now what's feeding? I got a story I love to tell you in Mark chapter 9. It's about a man who had a son that was born with seizures. Born having seizures. And it was devastating for the dad. And so the dad decided, I'm going to take him to Jesus. And it says this in Mark chapter 9. One of the men in the crowd spoke up and said, Teacher, I brought my son so you could. He says, I need a miracle. I've been watching my son for 15 years. I don't know if you know this part of the story, but this is when Jesus sent out his disciples. And he says, hey, by the way, you can speak to demons and they can come out. So I think his disciples were like, hey, we got this one. Hey, Jesus, you stay right there. We're good. But the demon didn't come out. So what do you do with that? What do you do with that? This is what we do. I knew it. I knew he was fake all along. Come, don't act like you haven't said that. I knew this wasn't real. I knew it wasn't real. But he didn't stop. He went to Jesus. You know what he said? Ready? You gotta lean in. He said, hey, Jesus, your disciples failed. So if you can, let's go back to Genesis. What did God say to Abraham? Count the stars. What? If you can. You don't like that God can talk to you that way, and you can't talk to him that way. Can we just be honest? That's the rub. So what does Jesus say to him? I love it. Have you seen? What do you mean if I can? Bro, I'm God. Like I can tell you because I know there's a faith component you got to have. I know you can't count all the promises. I know you can't understand all the promises. I know this is way bigger than you. So I'm going to live inside of you and give you full faith to believe in something that I know is crazy. But don't ask me if I can. If I can, anything is possible if a person believes. The father instantly cried out, I do believe, help me overcome my. You know what he did? He said, Jesus, here's my doubt. You know what feeds this place? First of all, it's our past. For 15 years, I've been watching my son throw himself into fires and water. Come on now. Listen, if you're living here, I'm telling you, I understand. You hear me? I understand if you're camping out right now. Because that's feeding you, and that's real. Number 2, the present. Because some of you guys are like, right? It still hasn't happened. Right now in this moment, it still hasn't happened. And then the third one, people feed you in this thing. You know why? I'm about to say something that's going to free you. You're letting people keep you in a place that you know gives you no life. And I hear it all the time. Well, I just have doubt in God because the people of God failed me. It's just feeding, informing. Here's what I want to do to end. I love for you to get to a place today where you make this one statement. I will surrender my doubt today. Here's what I'm asking. I'm asking for a visual of some people stepping out of their tent today. Genesis 22:12. Because I know your mind is still on this idea of Abraham when his son. Verse 12. Do not hurt him. For I know you truly fear God. You have not withheld even your son, your only son. Listen. You know why some of us are camping? Because you're holding on to things that God's asking you to release. We're going to sing a song that's just simply, I surrender all. All. I'm asking for one step. What if somebody came out of the doubting tent today? Because that thing ain't helping you. That you would say, because the Father's saying, hey, we come out. I just want to show you some promises. I want to show you how much I love you. I want to show you something that I know that you can't even comprehend, but I want you to believe it that I can. I created it. Will you surrender something today that you're holding on to? Are you holding on to an expectation? Are you holding on to a distraction? Are you holding on to a rejection? Are you holding on to how people have hurt you? And you're sitting in this camping tent of doubt and you're miserable. What will it look like for a family to all end today saying, I surrender all? Now, here's how it's going to do. Tonight, I'm really excited because we have a thing called The Gathering. It's just simply an extended time of worship. We did it a couple months ago. We're going to try to do it every other month or so. And all it is Drew up here with the keyboard, and he sings. And you get a chance to worship God and tell him your doubts. For about an hour to an hour and a half. And just repent. God, I'm sorry for living. I'm sorry for not letting this go. I'm sorry for living in this place. God, but I have faith in you. You know I do. God says, I know. Just want you to come out for a minute and see the promise that I have for you. So I hope in the next couple minutes, if this is powerful, and you go, I didn't want it to end. It has to. I went long on purpose so that he couldn't keep playing. We have to end this, but because we're going to do it for another 90 minutes at 5 o'clock. So stand up. And I want us together to embrace the moment that I am going to stare at the promises of God and surrender it all. Jesus, we love you. We need you.